Alright, in this video I'm going to show you how to simplify some fractions that have a whole bunch of stuff in them. And we're really going to look at two completely different scenarios, even though they both look like they should be about the same level of difficulty. So as we start with this first one here, what you need to notice is this is what we call a monomial. So is this. So is this. And so is this. And the reason I use that term is it means there's just one combination. There's one thing, one number here. Even though it's complicated, each one of these things I've outlined is just one number. It's a number we don't know, but once I multiply everything together, it's just one value. Now, when you look at the bottom down here, this is what we call a trinomial, and this is what we call a binomial. There's addition and subtraction happening here. When that's the case, you have two totally different scenarios. So let's jump into the top one and just see what happens here. And when I'm multiplying fractions together, the nice part about that is I don't need to worry about common denominators. I can just multiply straight across. But what I'm going to see here is 3 times 16, that gives me a big number. 8 times 9, that gives me another big number. Maybe there's a way to simplify these before I put them all together and multiply. So I'm going to look at these and say, well, you know, it doesn't really matter where I write these at. 3 is going to get multiplied by 16, and 8 is going to get multiplied by 9, and then I'm going to divide those. Well, what I could do is take 3 and 9 and simplify them first. 3 divided by 9 gives me 1/3. Oh, and 16, that happens to simplify with 8, 2 over 1. So when I start to rewrite this, I have 1 times 2, which is 2, and 1 times 3, which is 3. I got 2/3 for my fraction. Now, I haven't dealt with the variables yet, but at least I got the numbers taken care of. Now let's look to see what we've got on top. Well, looks like we've got x times x times another x. So x cubed. And we got y to the 4th. So that's what I have on top. On bottom, it looks like I have x to the 5th. And I just have a y to the 1st. Okay, so we get down and we've got just one fraction here. Now let's take a look at these numbers right here. Just look at the x's, trying to ignore everything else. I got 3 x's on top and 5 x's on the bottom, so when I start to simplify those and cancel them out, I'm going to be left with 2 extra x's on the bottom. I still have my 2/3. And then I look at my y's and I go, okay, there's 4 y's on top and 1 y on the bottom, so there's going to be 3 extra y's on top. And now I'm simplifying. And we've done a lot of problems like that before. I wanted to remind you of that because sometimes that gets confused with what we're about to do down here, which is a totally different process, but the results are going to look kind of the same. So let's take a look at what happened in the bottom one. Now keep in mind, what I've outlined in green here represents one value after you get it all put together. And what a lot of people want to do is they want to look at this 15 and the 25 and say, oh, let me simplify those. I can't do that yet because these are part of a bigger quantity, and I can only simplify if I can simplify the entire quantity with another one. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to factor. I'm going to try to turn this thing that has 3 things subtracted into a combination of a couple of things that are multiplied. So it kind of will look like this. I want multiplication to be happening, not addition and subtraction. So I look at x squared minus 2x minus 15. And if I can backwards FOIL, I'm going to see that's x minus 5, x plus 3. Okay? That means if I FOIL that out, I get the same thing as this right here. But now it's written as 2 quantities that are multiplied. Just like up here we had 2 quantities that are multiplied. It's going to make it easier to work with. On the bottom I have another thing, and that can be backwards FOILed too. That's our difference of 2 squares. We talked about this several times. That's x plus 5, x minus 5. Now, before you get too caught up in all the details, I want you to remind yourself of something. X minus 5 is just a number. It's a number we don't know right now, but it's still just a number. And that number is on the top as well as on the bottom. They're both multiplied, just like over here on the first one. So I can just cancel those out. Now, x plus 3, well, that's a completely different number than x plus 5. So I can't do anything with that. A lot of people want to try and cancel the x's out, but those quantities mean something totally different. So this is going to simplify a ways, but not too far. I'm going to be left with whatever number this is on top and whatever number this is on the bottom. And I can't get any better than that until I know what x is because right now they're just two unknown numbers that all I know about them is they're very different. So that is simplified. So we're going to have to be able to factor. Sometimes we can just combine them together if it's all multiplication and division. Other times we have to factor into little groupings to make this work.